Hello, this is Idodmg and welcome back to the channel. In this last Epoch video, I want to talk to you about the new developer blog talking about the Shaman changes and a new skill that's coming to the Shaman as well. The Shaman is a mastery class of the Primalist, and Primalist is one of my favorite classes since I've been playing the game since it came out in early access nearly 5 years ago. Leading up to every patch or update, they have like a hype week, and each day of the week leading up to the patch, they will drop a new blog post outlining some of the cool new things that are going to be added in that update in patch 1.0. Loads of hype around it, so they're going to obviously be continuing to do that hype week, as I call it, of the daily blogs leading up to the patch notes on February 19th. Now, I don't know if I'll make a video on every single blog post, but this one had me excited to talk about. I'm really excited to talk about this new skill being added called Gathering Storm. Gathering Storm is a melee lightning strength attunement ability. When I very first saw this, I thought strength and attunement, because usually, it's kind of one or the other when it comes to Shaman. And that's because Gathering Storm has two parts. You have a melee part of the skill as well as a spell. And you can tweak this in the skill tree as well. But by default, it has those two parts, the melee and the spell. The melee part is when you hit an enemy and you hit at least one enemy, you will get a storm stack. Once you have a storm stack, after 1 second delay, it will shoot out a storm bolt. And the Storm Bolt is the spell part of the ability. So the way that it's going to work is strength is going to increase the damage of the melee part, and then your attunement will increase the spell part, the Storm Bolt. But this skill looks really interesting because when you hit an enemy, hit at least one enemy, you get one Storm Stack, and then a second later, that Storm Stack will be consumed to cast out a Storm Bolt. But there's loads more you can do to this skill, of course. One thing you can do is the more stacks that you get, the shorter that delay is for that Storm Bolt cast. And this caps out at 50 stacks of Storm Stack. At 50 stacks, if you can manage to get that many, it seems like it'll be kind of hard to get that many in 1 second. But if you do get 50 stacks, the Storm Bolt is an instant cast. So as soon as you hit them, Storm Bolt will proc as well. I'm really curious to see if that's going to be actually possible to get the max stacks of 50. They also mentioned in the devlog that your pet wolves can also proc that Storm Bolt. I don't know if they can help generate stacks, though. That'll be interesting to see and kind of do like a lightning wolf type of build or something like that. You can also convert the ability to cold to help out with crowd control and play into that frostbite mechanic that exists in the game. I've always wanted to do like a proper like cold build, and so I don't know, maybe now's the time that I try that out. I've always just been like either damage over time or high hit and crit. And I don't know, I think it's time that we maybe try something else out. We'll see. And honestly, before I just keep going here, the thing for me that's really hard about 1.0 is I don't know what class I'm going to play. I am literally torn between all the classes. All of them look so much fun. And I really don't know what I'm going to start out as on February 21st and the new update comes out. I don't know what class I'm going to start out as. But let me know down in the comments what your starting class will be, and I don't know. We'll see. I have a feeling it's all going to be like Warlock or Falconer. Anyway, so you can convert its cold. You can do a full conversion and eliminate the melee part of the skill and turn this into a spell ability if you're wearing a staff. And here's what that looks like. It looks pretty cool. It kind of reminds me of the Druid from Diablo 4. I know, kind of a poor comparison, but with that storm ability, kind of reminded me of that. Just looks-wise. It's going to be way better on last Epoch, though, let's be honest. Another really cool thing is if you're going to do a dual wield build, you can actually get double procs off of one stack. So one stack of the storm stack, and then you can cast 2 bolts. So this is going to have great synergy and cleave and that kind of AoE procs with all the storms. Maybe we'll try out a dual wield. There's so many builds this game, you know what I mean? There's just so many to... It's like I want to play them all. I need to figure out how to clone myself or something. Another really cool thing they showed off is you can use your pet or your companion ability to proc storm bolts. And what that is, so if you're using like the wolves, for example, when you have your wolves summoned, you can actually use their ability, and doing that will cast even more storm bolts. It sounds pretty awesome. Kind of, there's literally, I mean, just in this devlog alone, I mean, there's probably 4, maybe 5 different build ideas that I thought of for the Shaman. But I really was not planning on Shaman because I just kind of felt like it's not been that great recently. But that is your Gathering Storm ability, and it looks pretty cool. Let me know what way you think you're going to take that ability. I don't know, the spell thing sounds cool, or trying to get as many stacks by just getting a bunch of attack speed or something like that, so you can get more storm stacks to proc more storm bolts. That might be best suited for dual wielding. But they also outlined Tempest Strike, and this is not a new skill, but it is getting reworked. And I don't have a lot of time spent with the old Tempest Strike, so I don't have a lot of comparisons to make, but the way that the skill is going to be changed, it looks cool, and I think there's going to be some interesting builds around it. Tempest Strike's really interesting because it has 3 different parts that you can do. There's a physical, lightning, and cold part to it, and each of those have their very own Tempest that they can cast, which is like its own effect that it can cast, essentially. So the different ones is the Frigid Tempest is a cold projectile that pierces enemies. So obviously that cater to your crowd control build we kind of talked about with Gathering Storm and converting it to cold and frostbite and all that good stuff. You have the Physical Strike, which can trigger a Wind Tempest. And I'm really excited for the Wind Tempest one because on the skill tree, there's actually a way to summon an actual tornado instead of just a twister. So, because I've tried tornado builds in the past, so I'm really interested to see how that's going to play out and what we can kind of do with that. And the third one is your Lightning Strike that triggers a Thunder Tempest, which is a storm of lightning bolts. So again, that would synergize up with your Gathering Storm. Obviously, everything in this game ties together in some way or another. It's just very intricate with their builds, and honestly something I rabbit hole all the time and get lost in. So that's my favorite part of the games, making interesting builds. Tempest Strike, though, is the 3 different strikes, your cold, wind, and physical. And there's some different things you can do with the skill on the skill tree that I'm excited to check out. As I mentioned, the tornado looks really cool. You can also fit into your druid build, where when you're transformed, you have a chance to auto-cast Tempest Strike. So that'd be really nice. You could spam your shape-shifted abilities and then still be spec'd into this and get the benefits from it as well. In that tornado, I wanted to point out, and this is pretty obvious if you've played Last Epoch for a while, but if you're new to the game, if you go into that Tempest Strike to where on the skill tree where you can make it actually summon a tornado, your tornado skill tree will actually benefit that tornado as well. So again, I don't know. I'm kind of excited to see how that's going to play out. Another thing that they talked about with Tempest is if you want to remove one of the Tempests, like let's say you're doing a Thunder and Physical build and you don't want the cold portion of it, is you can actually remove the Frigid Tempest out of the rotation, and it will actually cost less mana. So that's pretty cool that you can do that. But the thing is, when you use Tempest, it's going to be one of the 3 elements, and it just keeps cycling through. And so if you take one of the Tempests out, it'll still hit that one, but it just won't proc that specific Tempest. But the reduced mana cost is pretty nice that you can do that. So you can eliminate a Tempest if you want, but you can also get a chance to get more of a specific Tempest. So like for me, I'm really excited to check out the Wind Tempest to get those twisters out. So I could spec over here into Grand Cyclone, which is going to give me a chance to cast that Wind Tempest when I attack with a lightning or a cold strike, Tempest Strike. So that just gives me, and it's 10% per point, which, I mean, it could change post 1.0. That's a 40% chance when I use the other 2 elements to proc the Tempest that I want. You can do that with the other 2 Tempest choices as well. Another really interesting thing, and I don't know why, this one I kind of like was just a little bit impressed by. I don't know if impressed is the right word, but almost like shocked. I think it's really cool at the end of the day, but they did with this. So you can actually turn Tempest Strike into a totem. Now, I've always loved totem builds. They're not the strongest builds, but I find them very fun. And you can actually get a Tempest totem that will cast the 3 Tempests without the melee strike. And they're totems. They're Tempest. I think it's just so awesome. And this will also convert it into a minion ability since it is a totem. Totems count as minions. When I first saw this, I thought, wow, that's pretty awesome. You can just get a bunch of these Tempest totems out, but you are limited to 1 Tempest of each type. The other part that's interesting to me is when you summon a totem, it will summon with a random amount of cast speed, and the range on it is 5% cast speed to 35% cast speed. So that's interesting to me that they have just like you randomly roll the cast speed when you summon the totem. I think that's a pretty interesting passive, and I don't know how I feel about it. We'll have to wait and try it out. I guess maybe it'll add a little bit more excitement or disappointment when using totems, I guess, depending on how your luck is. They finish out the dev blog by reminding everyone that the servers will be taken down 24 hours prior to the launch on February 21st. So 24 hours before the launch, the servers will be down for maintenance. Again, sending positive vibes to DHG, the best of luck that the launch goes smooth. I know there's going to be a very high amount of traffic for their servers, and I just really hope the best for this game. Been following it for nearly 5 years, and I have a feeling this game is going to really stand the test of time. That's going to wrap it up for this last Epoch dev blog breakdown video, talking about the Gathering Storm new skill and the Tempest Strike rework for the Shaman. If you found this video entertaining or helpful, don't forget that like button and subscribe to the channel for more action RPG videos. The best way to support me is through joining the YouTube channel today and becoming a channel member, and/or leaving a super thanks on the video down below. Your review alone means the absolute world. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.